Hello, and welcome back to this part 21 of modelling a Mustang in Fusion 360. A bit different from usual. I've recently upgraded my computer, and as such, I've decided to change the software in which I edit videos in. So I was editing them in Premiere Pro, which I barely knew how to do, and I thought since I hadn't gotten anywhere with it, I would just use a free to use video editing software. So I'm using DaVinci Resolve 16 for the foreseeable future. We'll see how this goes. Yeah, really interested to find out. So I'll start. The main topic of this episode today is the kind of rear intake. I haven't really done too much investigating into the importance of this, because as I understand it, I don't think it's a rear engined car. It might be, but I don't think it is. Because there's also a front intake on a lot of these, so I believe the engines are at the front. Anyway, so I start by sketching the perimeter from the side view. To me, at this point in time, this was probably the obvious way to do it. But looking back, I could have probably just used the sculpt workspace, because this shape in particular is very abstract. There's no sharp lines to it. There's no exactness to it. So I feel like you'd probably be able to get away with having just a more fluid shape through the sculpt workspace. Anyway, so after sketching the outside, I want to extrude it. And as per usual, we're going to be extruding onto from the surface. So yeah, that way we follow the curvature of the car. It's not perfect what's happening here. I wish it was a bit thinner at the back. The way you would do that is you'd use like surface tools to create a more accurate shape. It's something that, like, on SolidWorks it was different, but it was very obvious to me on SolidWorks how you use it, and on Fusion the kind of surface tool is a bit weird. So I'm not talking about like shaping the car, which I might have referred to before as a surface tool. Technically, you are, when I was making it, was creating a thin surface, like a zero thickness surface. But when I'm talking about like surface, I mean like the patch tool, like all the zero thickness, just standard geometric shapes, and you can actually use them a lot more productively to get the result you want. So after extruding that onto there, the kind of next step I want to do is to add the entrance for the air intake. I think this video is quite interesting in that it's cut down by half, just because simple things. So for example, like, I try to fillet this edge perhaps later on in the video, and it just goes terribly. This edge is not the one I'm referring to. This seems to go fairly okay, but actually originally I wanted to just do a quick curve on the back like it's about to do. Hang on. not quite that much. I don't want to create a weird curve. I just want a small curve. I've also had to cut out a load of footage of just screen freezes. You can see a lot more errors are appearing, and you can see the general just things slowing down. So there's that curve I was quickly talking about. So originally I was thinking this will suffice, and for a lot of the video it's actually in the background. Yeah, it's I thought it was acceptable, but after I looked at it a bit more, I didn't feel like it was like an acceptable. I know this is I say a quick model. I know it's been like 6 hours, but it is supposed to be quite a simple model. But the idea that would just be curved at the back without the extra exhaust of it, it seemed unnecessary. So now what I want to do is I want to create that front intake section on the or not. Back to filleting. Sorry, I've been spending such a long time messing around with this software. I'm not even sure if it's going to record. So, forgive me for kind of my pauses. But yeah, just studying the numbers on the screen. So yeah, filleting this edge, it's unnecessary. And like I said earlier, I think you'd be better off just making this shape in the sculpt workspace, which after I finished this video and after I finished this project, I went back and changed it because this bit stuck out too much in my opinion, and I didn't feel like I could control the shape of it very much because it's extruded off the surface of the car. So by that example, by that kind of thinking, it means I'm very limited. Unless the shape of the car is perfect, then this fender is not going to be perfect. It can only be perfect if I've modeled the car 100% correctly. So there was another quick crash. Yeah, quite a few of those happen. So now I want to be modeling the air intake on this front section just there. And after, again, that was a quick cut there. I had to cut out quite a few messed up attempts of doing it. So the quickest way for me to do this is to just create a sketch from the front plane, offset the kind of features. So I'll project the features first, even. Then I can offset them. So one really great thing I've noticed about Fusion since I've upgraded my computer, because everything you have your like online account and everything is works brilliantly online. I mean, you can work offline on it, but Fusion 360 is like the connectivity through things is fantastic. And so moving across to my new computer, all I did was I downloaded the program and just entered my details, same as before, and it saved all my preferences, like my key binding, so that's like a real pleasure. But yeah, just here quickly extruding that back. Obviously I don't want to extrude it through, and you can kind of, if you want to, change the angle of the extrude, but yeah, you can see how slow the laptop was running then. I think this is a huge reason why I didn't take this into like a 7 or 8 hour project, was just how slow it was getting. So the good thing about the new computer I've built is I should be able to record these projects much more quickly and efficiently. So yeah, So cut to further ahead. After some failures of mirroring this across, about 5 minutes of failing it. No, that's not that is the failure. After about 5 minutes, eventually, I managed to mirror the parts. What I did was I joined them all as a component, so grouped them all under like one component name to make it easier to mirror across, rather than bodies and features. Sometimes you get errors from just mirroring bodies and features, because what you're actually doing is a computer wants to mirror them all at the same time, but you need your extrude to happen before your cut, which sometimes isn't obvious to the program. So if you turn it into a component, then those bodies and features, they're just grouped under one shape, so that can be mirrored quite easily. It's like take a circle, and then you cut a triangle out of it to look like Pac-Man. If you wanted to mirror that across, it would work in Fusion. Something more complex wouldn't, but this is just for example. So you try and mirror the circle, then the triangle cutout. It wants to do those two things at the same time. Now on a simple thing, it will do those correctly, but on a more complex shape and with more variables, you tend to get a few errors. So what you want to do is just group them as a component, and then it's as if the circle with the triangle cut out is just the shape of the original shape. So here we go, filleting this rear edge. That took me a much longer time than I care to admit. I think just the amount of freezes that I was getting with the screens, I think it was like 3 or 4 crashes I had just videoing this section alone. It was painful. Honestly. And yeah, so that's kind of that on the rear fender, and what I'll probably go to do is group it as a component or mirror the feature across. So I'll see what happens, but I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope the volume is okay. I hope the quality seems just as good. You never know. It might be considerably worse, or it might be a lot better. I'm yet to find out. It might be an absolute nightmare to try and export it all. It's I am glad I changed. It's just it's too expensive for things like Premiere Pro, especially when you're very much a hobbyist of video editing. Like CAD I do a lot, and Fusion's great because for a hobbyist license it's free until you start kind of earning over, I can't remember if it's $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000, but yeah, it's free until then. And Premiere Pro just costs a fortune, so it's nice to have like a free thing that I don't use very often. So yeah, kind of talk over. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it's all gone to plan. Yeah, see you in the next one.